Hello, everybody. I thought first to start with the bangle because the bangle is going to need to be baked before moving forward. So, as I had posted in the video description below, I said that if you want to do the clay with me at the same time as I am doing it, better make one of these. And hi, Sonia, Colleen, and Joaquin. Better make one of these the way that I showed it in one of the past beginner live help. Hi, Elizabeth. Bonjour, Elizabeth, Chris, Lorma, Nasrin, and Zenta. Thank you for being here with me. So, if you already made one of these, let's go ahead and make it. Now, you tell me, do you want to go for a flatter one or do you want to go for a more, how you call it? Convex one. Hi, Anna. Hi, Tina. Now tell me in the chat, would you want to go for a flatter one or if you want to go for one of those that are a little bit convex, the way that I did the Wild West bangle, for example. And all you need for this part, you need only scrap clay. Okay, let's go. No, Axanamun, it's the middle of the day here. Okay, let's see how many votes we have for convex and how many votes we have for flat. We have 2 convex and 1 flat, 3 convex and 1 flat. So I guess that we are going to go convex. So in order to do convex, and I think I've shown this to you before, you will need a fairly longish strip of clay. To the point that it will go all around your bangle. So this one obviously doesn't go yet. So, hi, Cherry. Yes, it is wonderful as far as the day went. But we are expecting here some really, really, really cold snap. So I'm going first to get as much as I need to wrap it once around. Then I'm going to get about half of how much I need. And this one, I'm going to get it through on a thin setting. And why do I need to put this on? Because I want to make sure that this goes properly stuck on the base. Of course, you can make it all in one go. Instead of making it flat, you can go from the start making it convex. But let's consider that we must first take out the lid. Yeah, we are expecting some. Hi, Deborah. We are expecting some really cold weather. It's going to be an early first frost for Oklahoma. Fortunately, not in my area, at least not for now. They are only talking about the northwest part of the state. Here we are supposed to have only 37 lows at night, but tomorrow is supposed to be a high of 42 degrees, which is not very pleasant. So first I'm going to put the thin one on, very simply. Yeah, I kind of had to give up on trying to, I had, because I don't have it anymore. I had a dwarf mandarin tree. that I used to take out in summer, late spring, summer, and bring back in the house in winter. But as my health kept going, okay, I have a little crumble here. Um, as my health kept going worse, I wasn't able to bring it inside anymore. So last year I just let it be outside. Hi, Debbie. Yeah, are you in the part of Florida that was affected by Michael? Because I saw there's some horrible stuff on the news about the areas that were affected by Michael. And then just making sure that I have no air pockets anywhere. Bring it to. And this will be covered. So except for the part that you need to it to be perfectly flat. And the only things you need to worry about are the air pockets. And for this, you keep going like this to push towards the edge, whatever might be that. A blank bangle that I made ahead of time, and I explained in the video description where you can find the example on how to make one. And because always the raw clay will have the tendency to separate when pushed against baked clay, all you have to do is to go with your roller like this, and the raw clay will come right off. And the same on the other side. As I said, push the whatever air pockets you might have towards the edge. Yeah, it does a little bit, only it's not shiny. So once you're done with that, again, get the roller around, and the raw clay will simply separate from the baked one. And there we go. We have now our base. And you want to do this a little bit because you might have the clay on the edge have the tendency to lift up a little bit. Now, the next one should be about 2 millimeters thinner than the one on the base. So I'm first going to make my marks and then go 2 millimeters thinner. And the same on this side. I'm going to make my marks and go about 2 millimeters thinner. And then I'm going to look for my ruler because most of the time I have no idea where it is. Oh, goodness gracious. Uh, I have the small one handy, but the small one is not a lot of help. Oh, come on, where did you go? Oh, well. This is really not a good thing. And I cannot find stuff. I need to start cleaning my table again. I don't know. I clean my table and then within 2 days it's worse than it was. It's really, I'm really bad about that because I work on several. Oh, I found tiny Pandoras. a bracelet plug. This should work. No, not that good. Okay, here normally you need to have a ruler. What I'm going to do a hack now. And then and before going with it to put it on the bangle, let's make one more strip because we need one more. Okay. Let me see. Bonjour, Cécile. Okay. No, it is not shiny. It's just the light reflecting. C'est pas du carton. C'est de la pâte polymère. Okay, I need it. A stick. Okay. Now this I'm sure that it's longer than it should be. Not by much. That's okay. C'est pas qu'est-ce que c'est la Claude. So first let's do a line on this. I'm just taking my bearings because the third should be again about 2 millimeters smaller than the one underneath. Oh. No, if you stick it on the base, I mean you can remove it, but it won't be as pretty. So let's go the same way, about 4 millimeters total smaller than the one underneath. And there we go. Straight here. Now let's put them together to form the round bangle. On the one that you put down, do a diagonal cut like this. Am I showing it? Do a diagonal cut like this, because you want to have a nice where they join, where you'll have to blend them, and place it pretty much in the very middle. Try to place it in the very middle. There are many ways of doing this, and Teresa Salgado shows you how to make a convex bangle differently than I do. And here just press just a little bit, enough to leave a mark, and then you can come and cut on the mark again in a diagonal. And that way, when you put them together, they will not be thicker in this spot. Oui, mais tu peux faire l'autocorrecteur. Tu peux le mettre, le déactiver. And the same for this. What I would advise you, don't put it on the same spot where you started the other one. Place it in a different spot, but again, place it at equal distances from the edges. And this one is a little bit short, so you can safely, gently pull to lengthen it a little bit. Just make sure that you keep it in the middle. If your clay was properly conditioned, it will pull nicely. And again, press a bit to get your mark, and then cut on the mark. Of course, you need to go about 1.5 millimeters inside from the mark and cut in a diagonal so the cut would end on the mark. And again, press it properly. Then make sure that it's well stuck. Yes, at this point it might look a little bit off. And then we'll make a few sausages. Now, if you want and you have issues making even sausages and snakes, you can use your extruder at this point. But I'll just go like this real quick, because we need to see how there's a two sharp steep step from one to the other. So even if you could work it, but it takes longer if you try to work it like that. So just make a few strings of clay and simply place them at the very edge. They will be thinner than the sheet of clay you made, because they need to be about 1 millimeter, and the thickest setting on the pasta machine is thicker than 1 millimeter. And it's okay if they break. That's not a biggie. Just make sure that you have a little string all around. And all this, again, you don't have to use new clay. Scrap clay is just fine. Wrong spot. Comes from not looking, not bringing this under my nose to be able to see properly. And you do the same thing on the other one. Now we are going to, once this is done, I'm going to cover it with white. You can cover it with whatever you want. I might put a little bit of pearl in the white to create some kind of pattern that would be more Halloweenish, so that we have a nice base for the bats that are going to be on it. And then once this goes in the oven, we'll start making the batwing earrings and the bats for the bangle so that they'll be ready to be placed as soon as the bangle comes out of the oven. So I did this on one side and I'm doing the exact same thing on the other side. And I know I had the same issue, and I was fortunate because Deborah mailed me all her scrap clay. Well, not all, but she mailed me enough scrap clay to keep me in business for a while. Because I've been using it for various pieces and for various tutorials, especially because I make faux metal using just scrap clay. So with all the faux metal stuff that I'm making, okay, here I want that. That's coming on. But yeah, now I have enough scrap clay to play with. A bit more here. But yeah, if you haven't checked, I have a tutorial on the website with how you can do the base for faux metal using scrap clay, mud clay, so that when you make faux metal, you don't need to use patina anymore. You can directly use the metallicizer. Okay, then simply press it nicely. And in this, I always praise the purple roller. In this, it is fairly invaluable because, as I said, it's much lighter than the other roller. And it's much easier on my hands to do all this. But you essentially just roll the first pass to kind of put these things together. And then you work the bangle on the working tile. If you want it to be more bummed, then you definitely need to do a humongous sausage and cut it in two. Otherwise, there's no better way to do it. And you see how I'm holding it at an angle? And I'm just rolling. You might have some clay that comes over the edge. That's fine. You can trim it. Thank you, Anna. I'm always trying to follow the path of least resistance, the one that requires the minimal effort with maximum results. And if you keep the angle steady, you see how it's shaping itself? See how beautiful it's shaping itself? Let me now turn it on the other side and do the same thing. And you just turn it from time to time so you can do it on all the sides of the bangle. And that's the only trick, to keep it at the same angle. And then check if you have any spot where, see, I still have a few here. It doesn't have to be perfect because you'll come with a covering on top, and that will pretty much, you only have to insist if you're going to make it how can I say it, perfect. But whenever you have any kind of something applied on the bangle, don't bother too much because it's going to be covered. Hi, Trish. Okay. And now see, I have a little bit of spillage. I just remembered. I don't know if any of you follow Charles Outlaw on Facebook. He made this character. He's a pretty handsome guy, but he made this character Little Billy using that filter on the phone that makes your eyes big and kind of makes your nose disappear. I still have it here. And makes your mouth humongous. And he makes that, of course, changes the voice as well. And he made this character Little Billy that is hilarious. And his video that went viral is with Little Billy trying to unclog his toilet. And at the end, he's like, oh, there's so much splashage. And that's what I'm saying here, spillage. I have spillage of clay. Okay, now we are going to place this in the oven for about half an hour, 40 minutes. Let's see. I'll place it for 40 minutes. It shouldn't take us longer than that to do the earrings and the bats that will cover the bangle. Okay, I'll be right back. Now, for the earrings, there is a way to make batwing earrings that look absolutely realistic. Like if you just, um, no, we don't wait. Now we work on the earrings. Like if you just got the wings of a bat. Hold on, I need to get a sip of water. Sorry for that. I took my pill pretty much before I started the live, like 10 minutes early, just to make sure that I won't forget. And it felt like it got stuck on the way. Anyway, so I was saying there is a way to actually make batwing earrings. And maybe if I have time, I'll make a tutorial on that to make them look exactly like they came off a bat. But we are not going to do it now because that's more extensive stuff and it requires heat gun and it requires a lot of baking and all kinds of stuff. So we are going to make also fairly nice looking bat wings, but that don't require that much stuff. So first, let's make ourselves a little template, simply out of plain paper. And I know I have a pencil or a pen here. How long do we want them to be? Let's see. 2 inches should be okay because on 2 inches they will get a little bit wrapped. So that should be fine. And then now remember that there's one thing. Never a bat wing is kind of triangular. So it will come from the body of the bat. So a bat is about this big, the wing is about this big. So if we go for half the size, we'll have a bat about this big. So this is how much you'll have at the edge. Then the wing comes like this, right? And then, because I've seen a lot of things that are very inaccurate anatomically, I've seen things that either put the bat wings with the, let me put it on the other side. So, or no, here. So they either make the bat wings. Okay, so we have this thing, right? And they make the bat wings going like this. Or they make the bat wings going like this. And that is kind of, I'm sorry, me, the first time I saw that, I started laughing because the same goes for dragon wings. Because what happens, you'll have the bat. Let me actually get still this so we can use this for a template. You have the bat, right? This will be the bat with the little head. And it has 4 legs. And the wing goes like a membrane, right? And with most of them, it's connected to the lower leg. The thing is that the little spikes that hold that membrane, they are actually fingers. So you'd have the thing here, and then the extended fingers come like this. Not like this, because the bat does not have several humerus bones, and it's not with extended ribs. They are the extended fingers. Actually, let me try and find an image here so I can show you. There we go. And actually, it's a Canadian thing. I was hoping to. Let me just make it larger. Okay, now let me make sure that I bring it into focus for the, I hope you don't get dizzy because Hangouts doesn't allow me to share the screen. But see, and this is the comparison to a human hand. See, it is connected to the lower leg, but these spokes, they are actually the fingers. They don't come from here and they don't come from here. So we are going to create our batwing earrings in this style. So going back, so we'll have the little bat body and we'll go like this. And again, I was a little bit inaccurate here because there's not an extra thing here. You only have two spokes, so to speak. Let's make it a little bit wider, like this. But this will be our template. And we can actually make it a little bit more. And this will be a tad inaccurate, but not by much. So let's cut the template. Because this will help us make both earrings symmetrical. So now we have a template. Let me get back to see the chat. I know. Bonjour, Regine. Okay, I'm trying to catch up. Okay, hi, Judy. So I'm going to use Graphite Primo, and it is on the thickest setting on the pasta machine. And I did get it through the pasta machine until I obtained the mica sheen effect. And that is because I'm going to use just a little bit of mica shift to make the whole thing look more interesting. And for that, I'm going to first draw my thing. And the best, myself, this is how I prefer to do it. I'm going first with the needle, because especially when you have your templates done with paper, if you use the X-Acto knife directly through that, you might cut the paper itself. So I'm first doing my outline with the needle, and then I'll come back with an X-Acto knife and cut it out. So I have one, and let's do the other one by turning it, flipping it over. But yeah, and it's the same thing for dragons, even if dragons are mythical creatures. And generally their wings are not attached to the lower limbs, but still they are still supposed to have the same type of wing anatomy. Now, there is a thing here that when it comes to dragons, because, and there's been the eternal debate with how, oh yes, you can do silver. And another thing you can do, Cherry, to make graphite, you can always mix silver clay with black clay. That's the recipe. to get this, but it looks better if it's a little bit darker. Of course, if you only have silver and you want to make them with silver and you want to make them look like silver, but even if you want to make them look like silver, I would still advise you to use the graphite, because if you use the graphite, then you don't have to work on antiquing it. So generally speaking, I usually go with 1 part silver and 1.5 parts black. But it will still keep the mica necessary, and it depends on how dark you want to make it. But when you want to do silver looking like stuff, I go with 1 part silver and 2 parts black. For this, I would go with half and half, because you want a little bit of a stronger mica shift. And if you use too much black, then you won't have enough. And if you want an even stronger mica shift, use 1 part white pearl, 1 part silver, and 2 parts black. And it will look really fabulous. Even better than the, I don't even know, is it pronounced graphite or graphite? Because I keep saying it and I'm not sure if I'm saying it right. Because I've heard some people pronouncing it graphite, and some people pronouncing it graphite. And I know that the Webster Merriam recommends it one way, but you know how sometimes the wrong pronunciation ends up by becoming the commonly accepted pronunciation. To give you an example, where I live, so I live pretty much across the street from an Air Force base, Tinker Air Force Base. And initially, back in Second World War, this was an army, a military depot. And where I live, it's actually the original 1 mile of the city, Midwest City. But there is a boulevard that has the name Air Depot, and it's pronounced Depot, right? But people say Home Depot, spell the same thing, but nevertheless. So, which of them is the proper pronunciation? Depot or depot? The same thing. Which of them is the proper pronunciation? Graphite or graphite? So, we go by considering that we have the 2 fingers, and you'll see why I'm taking these reference points. Let me try and get this refocused so you can see exactly what I'm doing here. Make this lighter with more contrast, even if my hands will look a little bit weird. Okay, there we go. Now you should be able to see it properly. Okay, so you see I made two lines here where the fingers themselves should be. There's another finger somewhere here, but that one doesn't show on the wing. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually make some lines, curved lines. And that is why I went with them on the thickest setting on the pasta machine, because I'm going to shave. Don't throw away that little template. What did I do with it? Where's my template? I did something with it. It was here. See how bad I am? And then do the same thing on each of these. And you want them to be fairly close. I'm doing them like this for now, but I'm going to go back and add some more. And it's fine if they are not perfectly rounded and perfectly, because all you want to obtain here is a little bit of mica shift. It will make your earrings look niftier. But yeah, if I have time before the end of October, while I'm working on all the other tutorials, I'll try and make a realistic batwing earring. If not, I'll make it sometime and just have it scheduled for next year. So you want to go fairly deep, and you want to go at a little bit of an angle, but you want to have a whole bunch of these lines. Why? Again, I'm taking my lines of reference to know where to go with the, okay, I didn't do this line very good. That's fine. And then I'm going to build my curved lines here. And again, it's fine if they are not super duper equal, super duper at the same distance, it's fine. Just make sure that you get them. And yes, you'll have to recut the wing after you're done with this, because it's going to require some burnishing. And whenever you burnish, there's going to be a little bit of stretching of the clay. And as I said, that's why I went with it through the thicker setting on the pasta machine. And as I was talking about dragon wings, okay, let me get back to that. There's been the eternal discussion and controversy on what is the difference between a dragon and a wyvern. Because wyverns appear too in mythology and in fairy tales and the thing that seems to be more widely accepted as definition is that dragons have, I did a much nicer job on this wing than on this wing. Dragons have 4 legs plus wings, while wyverns have the hind legs and the front legs are changed into wings. So, for example, theoretically, the dragons in Game of Thrones are not dragons, are wyverns. So, depending on how the wing on a dragon, if it's a dragon or if it's a wyvern, is okay, here, flatten it real good. I'm just taking breaks from my story from time to time to give you indications. Um, Always when I'm going shaving, I'm putting just a touch of Armor All, and actually I'm not going to use this one, I'm going to use the short one. These are, if you've never seen these before, these are some blades that I discovered on Amazon, and it took me like 6 weeks to get them because they're coming from China. And initially I got only the 7.5 inch long ones. And then I told Trish about them. Trish with Polyclay Play, and she's a wonderful online store owner that always strives to bring stuff to the players. So she went and searched and finally found a supplier. And she found also the almost 4 inches long ones, not just the super long ones. And they are a very, very good price at Polyclay Play. I'm going to put a link after the thing is over and it gets repeated so you can. Oh, I found my template. Look, squirrel. But these are the best things, the best blades that I've ever had and tried in terms of shaving and in terms of cutting thin cane slices. So now we'll go and very gently shave a little bit of these so that we'll have a mica shift here. So back to dragons and wyverns. So if it is a wyvern, here I did a little bit too thick, too deep. If it is a wyvern, then obviously the wing will be kind of like the one of a bat because there will be the obviously not a whole bunch of humerus bones, but it would be still um, supported by mutated elongated fingers. But if they would be, yeah, but they can be found in a lot of other areas. Joaquin, I mean, all over the world, you'll have the same way as you have dragons that fly without wings, like the Chinese dragons and the Japanese dragons. Those don't have wings or have vestigial wings. But if we are talking about what's considered the real dragon, the one that has a whole new set of appendages, because the wings kind of sprout from where should be the shoulder blades, then all bets are off. And those wings can have any kind of anatomy. Being a mythical creature, we have no idea how those wings would be formed. So this for that can be actual accepted, but definitely not for a bat wing. Okay. Yeah, I don't know, but not really because the pterodactyl is still bat-like. I mean, it's got and all the other flying mammals, they have a membrane that is connecting the front legs with the back legs and some finger formation, deformation, not formation, deformation that okay, here I did make a boo-boo. Try and even it out a little bit. So no, I don't think because the pterodactyl still has that same type of membrane. Now this mica shift will be very subtle. Sorry for the glass on glass or pretty much acrylic on glass noise. I'm trying to make as little noise as I can. And the best thing to burnish is to get a piece of wax paper and then just go like this. And why is the best wax paper when you burnish? Because see how I have here? I don't know, Joaquin, because you know that there's the other controversy that dinosaurs were not really reptiles because the latest discoveries showed that they actually had warm blood. So I think that soon they are going to get their own separate category in the. Okay, let me see if I can move it so that you can see the mica shift properly. Okay, so now we have a mica shift here that will give some extra bling to your earrings. So let's do the same thing for this other one. So I'm placing the wax paper and then trying not to kill your ears with the. Can you hear me well, actually? I forgot to ask. Because I have my microphone on headphones that are hanging on the camera. Let me actually put them on so you can hear better what I say. Okay, now you should be hearing me much better. Okay. So again, go not so much rolling as burnishing until you don't see any white spot here, because that's what I was saying. Using wax paper when burnishing is the best because it will show you when you where you have still any kind of unevenness, because where it's not sticking to the clay, it will have little whitish spots. So you can go ahead and burnish it properly. And don't go much rolling. You can go with a little bit of rolling, but don't exaggerate, because if you do too much rolling on a mica shift, you will destroy the mica shift. Excuse me. Okay, now that we did the mica shift, let's go again and recut wherever we distorted the clay. So once again, I'm going to use my needle, and you can actually cut with a needle. Okay, after I trace this one, I'm gonna go open the oven. To let the bangle cool off a little bit. Ooh, what do you mean? Slice against the lines or with the lines? Oops, little bubble. It will teach me to look what I'm doing, not on the screen. The lines are like this, and I'm slicing like this. I'm shaving like this. Like with a regular mica shift. And yes, I started working on the last two parts of the sugar skull cane. So hopefully you'll have at least part 3 tomorrow, if I don't manage to do part 4 as well. And I'm not going to fix it. Yeah, obviously. But if you want to make it more realistic, if it's a wyvern type dragon, I would still go with the finger held wing, not with the umbrella type spikes. And I'm not, as I said, I'm not going to work on the making them nice and pretty until I put them on the baking form. Hey. Okay, let me go get the, just a second. Okay, I got it sitting on a tile in the kitchen. No, it's Anna Celebrate Creations. It's Anna, and she's another polymer clay tutorial channel, and she makes beautiful things. Okay, now I am going to use let me make sure that I'm in focus. Sure that I'm in focus. Perfect. Okay. So you are two Annas in the chat right now. So I'm going to place the wings in a curved, a little bit curved. So if they are going to hang on the ear like this, I want them to be slightly like this, right? So in order to make them slightly like this, they have to be curved. And the same for the other one. And now I'm going to take care of all the edges here. And I'll show you a trick. Go see how it is right now. And you can use, you don't have to get the cane benders just for that. You can use the handle of a paintbrush or a dowel that you have sanded nice and smooth. And yes, the back will be shiny, but we will place something on the back. So, and now we can go ahead and nicely. And normally I don't bother doing all this because the edges can be made perfect just with a few swipes of sandpaper, but these are way too thin to be for you to be able to put the sandpaper on them in a comfortable way. They would bend. But you can still go with a little nail file over the edges and remove all the small imperfections that might be there. And we are not done with them. We'll still add something else. Let's do the same thing on the other one. I don't have my eyeglasses on, so while I cannot see the chat, I'll look as soon as I'm done here. So see how I'm holding it at a 45-degree angle, and I go over the edge. I'm not going to worry much about this edge because I'm going to add here something here in a minute. Now, even if you don't manage to remove all these little cuts, you can actually leave them there because once you remove the wing from the jar, it will come off and will not be attached to the wing. Or even if it's got a little thread, it's still attached to. It will be easy separated. Okay, now the next thing we are going to do, we are actually going to put in the fingers. Hi, Edna. Okay, now I'm going to take some of these remnants and I'm going to do another mica shift effect, but this time very simple. So I'm getting it through the pasta machine. Until you get the sheen. And I need it a little bit thinner than this, so I'm going to fold it. And then just cut a few strips straight. This is one of the simplest effects. And you want it to be about 2 to 3 millimeters thick, so you have enough room to wiggle it. And you'll see why I made it this thick. So just start twisting it. Because as you twist it, you'll have the dull part of the mica shift coming in it over the shiny part. Just keep twisting it until the little spirals are fairly close to each other. And now this is not very realistic, but it makes pretty stuff, a pretty effect, because the fingers of the bat are not ribbed. And what we are doing here is a little bit of ribbing. So let me see if I can show it to you properly. See, this is flat, but it will give a mica shift effect just because of the way it's been twisted. So might want to make it a little bit even thinner. And then I'm going to apply them no, they are too thick. Hold on, I need to cut it in two. It won't look too good if I do it like this. So let's cut them in two. All right, now this should be good enough. And they were poking out too much. And the same for the other one. Okay. And actually they have the claws here. That's how they hang onto stuff. Yes, we are going to make a little bit of claws. Okay, I did a boo-boo here. I'm trying to see without taking my eyeglasses off. Oh, well, it's going to be covered by the edging. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to place this one whole, making sure that I have enough. If not, I'll have to make one extra. Make sure that it's well against the sheet of the wing and not separated, because if it's not well stuck to the sheet, it's going to come off when you take it off the jar. And on this one, you want to go just a little bit for the purposes of making sure that it is against the sheet properly. Now let's make it some claws. Just going to get a pinch of translucent. Oh yes, I am, Donna. I am. Happy Sunday. Yes, you did. You sure did. Okay, so I need 6 of these. It should be about the size of half a grain of rice. So what I'm doing here, I just cut little pieces, and I'm going to kind of teardrop them. I actually need only 3 because I can cut them in half. But see how I made them look like grains of rice? And I'm going to cut them in 2. And then I'm going to place them here. This one is a little too long. Sorry, I told you I have issues with pinching. Oops. Okay. So you want to place it slightly over the end of that ribbed finger and then press down a bit. So it would look claw-like. Let's do the same for this other one. So this one is a little long. And we'll do this part after these are baked. Half a brain of rice, huh? Okay, now let me put this in the oven and bring over the bangle. Okay, I remembered something. If you haven't seen any of my tutorials before where I showed how to make a little sleigh for a jar, if you have to, yes, that's what I said. You can use the end of a paintbrush, the handle of a paintbrush. How to make a little sleigh for a jar so it wouldn't start rolling in the oven. If your oven is not tall enough to put the jar upright, you just fold a piece of aluminum foil several times and then you bring the ends together and then you can place the jar right on the sleigh and it will not move. And then you can make these closer or farther depending on the size of the jar you're using. Okay, now I'm going to put it in the oven. Now for the next, what I would probably do if I wouldn't be on a live, I would go and gently sand all this, so to make sure that this edge is nice and rounded for the bangle to look perfect. But as I said, I'm on a live, so I'm not going to do that. Back. And I said I'm going to make a little bit of a mica shift on this as well. So I took some of that crappy white, as you can see, and this is some white pearl. And I'm going to put it through the pasta machine together like this. And then I'm going to kind of fold it. Well, yes, and I'm always very careful on the way that I finish my pieces. That is very, very important, even on the back. So I fanned it, as you can see, and next what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut it in two. And I'm going to put the two halves together like this. And then I am going to fold it the other way. Like this, and then simply push it. And then cut it again in two. Get one part like this, and the other part the same, but I'm going to put it backwards. So this goes like this and this goes like this. And it's going to make a kind of pattern. Was a little bit thick and this one not thick enough. So now I'm going to place them in a line. And I don't want them to get too wide, so I'm going to gently press them back in. And now they can go in the pasta machine, and I'm going to go thinner and thinner until I get to have enough to cover this. Almost there. I need to go just one more down. Which side I like the best? This side. Now I know I have a little bit extra. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut this very edge, put this to the side a little bit. And yeah, again, this is a crappy white. Okay. Okay, let me get the brightness less, because it was something that was supposed to be seen. Let me get it less bright. Okay, is it better like this? And let me actually bring it back to the focus. There we go. I was left on the very bright. Hi, Tanya. I was left on the very bright from before. Thank you, Marissa. Please tell me when I forget to do something like that. Tell me, hey, you finish showing that to us. You can go less bright. So first I'm going to go on the little, just to make sure that I have nice and even bangle. As I said, you don't really have to do this, but you know, I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. I'm going to fill these little spaces here. This white is just perfect for something like this. It's so stretchy and clingy and horrible. I'm doing that only to the wider parts. But as I said, normally the best thing would be to take some sandpaper to this part. That's the most important part. You don't want it to be at a sharp angle. You want it to be nice and rounded. And you've seen me before. I usually use first like a 180 grit, and then I go to 240, 320, 400. Because a very low grit will be really good to do something like this. So making sure that these, I got the proper flatness. And then, of course, do all the surface of the bangle with bacon bond. And as usual, I would advise you to, after you smear the bacon bond on the bangle, to wait a couple minutes to allow the bacon bond to thicken a little bit, because you know how when you place a sheet on something with bacon bond or TLS underneath, or you know, like liquid Sculpey, that sheet will have the tendency to slide around. If you let it for a few minutes to thicken out, then it will make a much better cohesion adherence. And sometimes it's even hard to, if you leave it like that and then you put your piece on, sometimes it will be hard to actually pry it from that piece, even before baking. Yeah, Prima White Spackle. Well, I swear that white is good for nothing else. That's the only good use for it. It was even more horrible than it was last year, I swear. Let me refocus here because you cannot see this close. Try and see if I can get it. It's all this white. Okay, this should be better. So again, a lot of attention not to trap air underneath. And as for the one before, press it a little bit against it until you get your mark. And then you can cut. Again on a diagonal, so and then you can blend them properly. I guess I didn't have a good mark. There we go. So now you want to go again over all the edge on both sides. To make sure that you have no. And see, here I have a sharp edge. Normally, as I said, you wouldn't have a sharp edge. You'd have a rounded edge, so you won't be in danger of the clay coming off. And I cannot use the roller on it because at this point I would cut it. Yeah, that would be good. Oh, thank you, Anna. So again, to be very honest on this side, I would place this, I would probably have done it in one go. And then have this sanded. And then on the second baking, I'll have the top, the inside, and then the bats. I'm going to try very gently so I wouldn't break the clay. Now this you can use, you can do other colors. You can use, for example, a yellow of some sorts and mix it with gold. And do the same thing. Watering to paper. Ok. Anxenamun, c'est pas du papier, c'est de la pâte. C'est de la pâte blanche parce qu'il y a eu une portion de la pâte blanche de Prémo aux États-Unis qui a été très, très, très mauvaise. Trop élastique, trop mou. Donc, je l'ai utilisé essentiellement comme de la patchwork. Okay, so now we have a good enough. As I said, I would go ahead and I would sand it to make it perfectly round and pretty. But for the purposes of the live, I'm going to just go forward. So for this, we are going again to do little templates. I probably could go without templates myself, but just better for you, and you can get them from online. You can print them and then cut them. And I'm going thin, okay? Because essentially when you go, if we make some tiny ones, we don't need a lot of detail. As long as they kind of suggest the bats. You don't need more detail than this. This should be enough. Something like this. And you can make several sizes. So I would use again my, let me refocus again. And show this in a close-up so you can see. So something like this should be just fine. You don't have to go for more detail. And you can cut with a needle. So you go like for a regular bird. You kind of take your bearing on where the body would end. And then do 3 thingies. 1, 2, 3. I need a flat, rigid blade. And the same. So you go like for a, you start like for a regular bird. Do like the head thing. And again the wing. Take your bearing on where you want the body to end. And then do 1, 2, and the third one all the way to the body. So 1, 2, and the third one all the way to the body. And lift it with the rigid blade. And there we go. We have all our bats. And then of course you can make smaller ones. Let's make a couple smaller. So again, a regular wing head, regular wing. The body ends here. 1, 2, 3. Lift it and place it. And it looks, until you look very close, you might not figure out that it's a bat. Bracelet. So when people figure out, oh my God, you have a bat or bracelet, because it looks all fancy and elegant and stuff. Okay, I didn't go good on this one. As I said, it's easier if you get yourself some templates. But the best thing to work is to use the needle, because I'm using a very thin sheet. So the needle will work just fine on it. If I manage to go all the way to the edge. Okay, so at this point I've been up for close to 2 hours and my back started hurting. So we are going to continue making these next Sunday, and that will give me the opportunity to actually, I'm going to remove these, sand it, and then apply these. And then next time we'll finish the earrings. I'll show you how to actually make a semblance of a bat body at the end of the earring where it hangs with some fake fur stuff. And then we'll do the back and the bail for the earrings. And then on the bangle, once I'll have it, and I recommend that you go ahead and sand it to make it look nicer. Once I'll have it sanded and with these shapes applied and baked, next time we will apply all the other little elements and the backing and bake it. So I hope that you don't mind that after almost 2 hours, I mean, yeah, it can be tiring. And we'll finish these next Sunday. And we'll have some good quality, nice finished stuff. Okay. Thank you so much for participating to the live. And I will see you all next Sunday, unless I have some live beginner help creeping up on me, and I'll just jump on a live to help somebody. So don't forget, if you just found my channel, to like and subscribe and hit that little bell button so you would be notified when I come online or when I post something. And remember that on the Facebook page, I always post all kinds of updates and everything. And then on my website, you can find more things. And then on Pinterest, what I always recommend people to go on my Pinterest, because I have boards with various color recipes. So thank you very much again for being here with the live, and I will see you next Sunday. Have a wonderful what's left of the weekend. And don't freeze, and don't get flooded, and have enough rest. Thank you. Goodbye.